Hi everyone. I wanted to go over some ways that you can create sequins and sparkles um, in your accessories and garments. So, because I know it's a really fun texture to create and it's quite popular, and sometimes it just is like that perfect little bling touch, that makes everything come together. So, um, right here, I've got a bag selected. I know bags are going to be coming up a lot more for you um, as you keep unlocking the tool. And we use them so much in the game, it seems like you can never have enough bags. So, for for me, there's two ways to do the sequins that I prefer. One is to just directly paint them on myself. Um, and then another thing that they have is if you go into a fabric pattern, and in the fabric and texture options here, they do have a sequin one. And this is good and bad. There are some interesting things happening here. Um, but it's also extremely limiting. So I wanted to at least show you if you did feel drawn to one of these three sequin textures, that you kind of knew ways to enhance it to make it special. So let's start with this one. Okay, this one's kind of nice because it is already informing you, where the highlight colors will be in the white, where the darker sequins might be in the midtones. Um, but if you just put it directly on the bag, it's not really in alignment with the shape that's here. And I also don't want this blue color. So what you're going to do is you can say, oh, I really want this bag to be the sequin. Okay, that's great. So let's pick a color. Let's do sort of like a green, maybe more like an aqua green, because that's a fun color. Okay. And the only thing here is that it looks a bit muted. There's a little bit of, I see a little bit of gray in here. One thing I can do is I can go into, so I'm in the fabric layer here, and I'm in my color select, and I can pump up the texture opacity so that it's really more strong. That's one thing I can do. And another thing I want to do is I want to kind of change the shape. So I'm going to click on these three dots in the fabric layer, and then I'm going to hit transform, and then I'll get this box that lets me kind of squish it in any direction. I can also resize it, so if I want it to be really small, but then you're going to really lose, there's no point to go small. But and then the most important thing is I can kind of tilt it into an alignment so that it's fitting the shape better. Okay. And then the other thing you can do while you're in here, so say you get your alignment done, you've picked the size that you want the sequins to be, you can drag it around because there's lots of pattern stuff happening here. So like if you already know, like for example, you can have it be more textured, more, less. There's just quite a few different shapes happening here. If you want just something happening in the center here, these are all things you can do to make this more unique to you and not just so, so cookie cutter. Okay. Okay, let's go with that for now. Okay. So the next part of this is I want it on this bottom part too, not just the top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up here to the clone style icon. I'm gonna click this brush, and I'm just gonna click here on lower part. And now now it's kind of matching, but it's a little bit too matching. I think what I want to do too is also now click on the three dots, hit transform, and I kind of want to get some different variations going on down here. Okay, now that looks more unique to me. So the next step of the process here is I'm going to turn the shadow layer off. Look how bright, look how dark, look how bright. Shadow layer should be off. For this handbag, you just don't, there's no need for it. So I'm going to go make sure the shadow layer is off on both. And then my next step is going to be to take this brush and drag it to the top. And I'm going to make a couple new brushes by clicking on the three dots and selecting new. Okay? Because what we want to do now is we want to enhance the sequin pattern. Right now, if I zoom out and I look at the, if I put it on the model, you can see it's still very flat. There's no sparkle here. It's just, we've just put a texture. I mean, it's just dots texture. It's not, there's nothing happening here that's super special. Sequins are special because they have light reflection in them that makes it shiny. So if we want to make this shiny, there's some things here that we need to do. So you've moved your brushes up to the top above glare, shadow, fabric, because the reason for doing this is that we're telling the paint program, paint, but paint on top, paint on the very top of everything that's going on. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go over here to brushes, and this is a really fun finally we can use these square brushes. There's not a lot of uses for them sometimes. And then what I like to do is usually in these kind of bags the size of the square is like a 3. And you can use the very solid one or the fuzzy one, whichever one you want. And down here you're in the color. So once you get your size down, which is about a 3, you don't have to worry about spacing or opacity or flow because we want full color and everything here. So go down to color, and then you want to pick this color. Okay, now we're matching this color, right? If I click on it, you're not going to see, right? There's no difference here, right? But what you want to do is you want to pick. Another thing with sequins and stuff is that it's not just one color. There's some gradations of color kind of happening here. So I might actually want to go up to a green, just kind of above it. And I want to get like a super bright, like we want super bright colors, right? Look at, if I add now some, and I'm going to say this is a mid-tone color. See how this is obviously dark. This is so this color intensity matches more like these colors here, versus if I put it here, it's too bright. So it's not really a good one. But anyway, so here's some ways to enhance this texture. Is we're gonna go not everywhere because it's, again, we're trying to keep this sort of nice turquoise color happening. But here and there's going to be just these little moments of other colors going on. And now I might go back to this turquoise and just go just a little bit into the blue hue now. And now we might add, because if you think about like all the colors that do make a turquoise, they're not necessarily, it's like a blue and a green, right? So there probably would be some moments of those colors here and there. And it's kind of, again, this is sort of a nitpicky thing to do. And what I mean by that is that when the bag is zoomed out, what this is going to do is it's almost like an enrichment of color versus like, because if I zoom out, you're not seeing all those green and blue dots, right? But you're creating these like believable color moments of the bag being more alive versus just flat. So even if you're not seeing like all your hard work, I mean, maybe you'd go up to a size 4. Um, if you're not getting quite the, the moments you're seeking, but by doing this extra work in these, textures, it's just more ways to make what you're creating vibrant and alive. See, I can see the green a little bit better now. And it is just all very important. I'm going to go to a new brush now that I have sort of these colors established here. I want to kind of play around with my next level of colors, which is sort of like enhancing some of this turquoise now. And this is sort of more in this sort of darker value, but so I might kind of just follow the pattern where these sort of middly zones are. And again, I'm just creating some extra support here for what this pattern is sort of telling us to do. I'm just going to create some more believable moments of that. Oh, I should have put this on another brush, but that's okay. That's okay. Anytime you switch colors, it's kind of good to have that on its own brush, just so that if you have to go back, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, then. See. And then I don't really love how dark and gray this blue is, this turquoise. It feels kind of flat to me. And then also I'm not getting some like really good contrasting moments. So I might actually want to find a kind of a, sort of like it's got some more blue in it, see? And then I might want to, and then also sometimes you might want to carry this over to the edge. Okay. And then let's go dark. Let's go really dark. Let's get a few moments of contrast in here. Because everything is just so kind of flat. Yeah, see? Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see what I see, but I do see I see a change in this pattern. I see something, more unique happening. And it's really good to put these really dark moments on places that would naturally have the shadow. Like maybe you have a bit more on an edge, at like a border's edge where there'd be some natural shadow. And yeah, so I can already see it coming alive to me. And then the last step, and you don't have to spend forever on this or do too much, but the last color step that's going to be happening is going to be your extremely bright white. That's even more bright and white than the white that's here. And it's good to put these in areas that already have like a lot of color so they stand out more. Like if I just try to enhance here, it's okay, but you're not going to really see it as much as if I mix it into these other colors that are going on. And then another brush that people like to use, and I'll put it on again on its new brush. People do really love this one here. And you can use this at your discretion. For me, sometimes when I use this brush, it just looks like extra big blobs of white, and I'm not like a massive fan of it. And for me, if you just want to stop here and say, oh, I made a sparkle back, that's okay. For me, I don't personally find this to be that sparkly. for me, I would need to, for me to really, what I would do, and I can show you, is I need this bag to have a lot more contrast going on. So what I would do is I would grab the fuzzy brush. I'm going to turn off spacing. I'm going to make it like a, probably more like a 12. And then I don't want to put too much color on here or too forcefully. So I might actually want to come in and create some more believability of shadow and depth around the edges. So I'm going to take this dark color and I'm really going to create more dimension moment, you know, more 2D, 3D shadows going on. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like I'm doing a really bad job describing what I'm doing, but I mean, you can see what I'm doing. I'm making this, you know, have some contrast so that it has some more shape. Now if I look at it, see the bag's got some more stuff, and I might actually want to punch up a bit of the green. Again, the reason why it's so light is because I have flow and opacity low. This is like so important for when you're adding a little bit of color, you know, overlays. I might actually want to add just a hint of yellow in here too, because I really want that white to pop up a bit more. And it also looks a little bit more turquoise. I might take this over here a bit more, or even some, well, I don't want it to be too white. I guess maybe turquoise. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I like that. Okay. And then on the bottom, I only see a few moments where I would really have some, like, I'm not going to do sparkles all over the bottom because there's actually just a few places here on the corners and maybe a little bit on the bottom here that would actually have, would actually capture the light. Because if you think about this being a bag that has a folded over flap, like the bottom, a lot of the bottom of this, I'm going to go on the bottom brush here, but a lot of this is going to be dark as the flap is creating a shadow at the bottom of this bag. And then there's going to be, again, you know, we've got some shadow here, there's some shadow here, right? And then this bag curves underneath and has some dimension here at the bottom. So I would want to put this in shadow. So again, like my true moments of light that I could capture in this bag. Let's see. Let's go to the next brush. Let's go back to the square. Let's go back down to like a 3. Are going to be these bright colors. If I want to enhance a few sparkly moments here. And of course some white. But it's not going to be everywhere, because the bulk of the highlight is going to be up there. Okay, let's look at it from a distance. Yeah. So again, like if you want to keep that fabric texture there, and you want to, you know, this is just a one way that you can use that sequin, right? Okay, let's move on to another texture way that you can go. Let's erase, 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 erase. Okay, so let's go back to fabric. And then let's look at this one. Let's change the color here. Maybe to more of a purple. Okay. And then again, excuse me, I'm going to cough for just a second. Okay. So again, I put the sequin on. It's too big. I need to transform and change the sequin size. I'm going to change this. And then I'm going to look around and see if there's any. Yeah, I want a little bit more diversity in the pattern this time of light and dark. And then I also, sometimes when you change like this, like fabric color or whatever, the shadow that you turned off comes back on again. So go ahead and turn that down. And let's go ahead and copy that onto the lower part. And then let's go on the lower part, and again, let's find some cool, yeah, well, maybe like, yeah, there we go. Okay. So, you know, how are we going to enhance this pattern? And it's kind of like a similar situation where we want to kind of highlight some colors and create some shading. So, and again, you might not use the square on this one. This one, maybe you do just use some of this. Let's see, what is the 6 at? 6 is okay. But you could just come in with the purples. You know, you could just splatter paint on here, some different colors. Another brush that I really like to use on this kind of stuff is this brush preset that kind of looks like sequins. It's kind of like a big circle with a dot in the middle, and that's really nice. And then you can kind of increase the scatter, increase the spacing, turn down the size, and then you can get, you know, you don't get these sort of nice fish scale type sequins, but maybe it doesn't matter for what you're doing. Like, it's not gonna, you know, impact anything too much. So let's go over here. Yeah, that's that lavender color, so you might want to do the bright white here. And then if you turn down the size even more, you might want to just use a much smaller size. And again, purple and blues always go together. Sometimes there's a bit of magenta in here. You don't have to just stay in your lane of purple. You need to kind of borrow some colors, you know, around. And now if you pull back, it just, you know. Again, we're just trying to look for ways to make the sequin feel vibrant and alive and not super flat and just, you know, boring. And then if it's looking like it's too white and you're not getting enough contrast, remember, just do that trick of, you know, go in with your brush, get to the fuzzy rounded sort of edges here, and then turn down spacing, turn down flow and opacity, and adjust the size. And maybe get your darker purple and come in and, you know, and this will vary depending on which, you know, bag shape or garment shape or whatever that you pick. Let's go ahead and get, and actually let me turn down opacity and flow a little bit more, because I just want to kind of make this a little bit less white in this corner here. It was like a bit too much. I love that it has that lightness, kind of lavender hue. Yeah, that's better. Because this is how we're going to see if the white value and the lightest color value are too close together, you're just not going to get that contrast that you need. to get those believable kind of bright white light moments. And I might actually go into, sometimes with purple, a dark blue can really help with the shading versus just dark purple and then black. And then now you can go in, you know, with this brush. Let's get it down smaller. Oh wait, let's make sure we're on the very top brush so it's above all this stuff. Yeah, so now you can get your little, you know, sparkle doohickeys. And it'll show up a bit. It's not like super bright because there's a lot of white in here. This sparkle brush just works beautifully on really dark, you know, moments where it can shine. So, but we have some of this fish scale pattern, but we have lost a bit of it. But if you want to very painstakingly stay true to that pattern, like if you're really like deeply in love with this pattern of the fish scales, you could just go all in and like fully commit to painting. Just, you know, get this fuzzy brush, get it down to like a 5. I would do like half opacity and flow, maybe 2/3, something like that. And then you could just, you know, very painstakingly go in and sort of just enhance parts of it. I mean, this is very nitpicky, but like if you're looking for something unique and special and you want it to be just yours and no one else has done it, I mean, maybe you do go in here and enhance all this stuff by hand, you know, over and over. You could even come in with some other colors. Just be mindful that when you do something like this, that what you think is like, you spend all this time in this like little painting bubble and you're like, oh my God, you know, I'm vibing, I got my paint going and this is so cool, like this is gonna look great. But then you zoom out, you can't even see anything that you just vibed with, you know what I mean? So, you know, like, you know, you kind of have to have like a clear idea of what you're trying to do, and then you have to kind of stay realistic to the shape and the size of what you're creating and how you're creating it and what you're doing, because that can really change when you zoom out and then you see exactly what you spent like an hour doing, right? Is it really worth it? I don't know. But if you want to really just keep this texture, whatever, I'm just giving you options. I'm just trying to teach you that, you know, there are some other ways, okay? So these are how I would handle these textures. And it's also really different. Like you can't go in like with a pattern, right? Say we pick a pattern. Say we pick this one, right? And let's make it purple. And if I put the pattern on top of this fabric texture and I transform it down, I can get like all these little dots, which is really cool, right? I can get all this stuff going. And it kind of looks like, look, it looks kind of like sparkles, but then like, what's the point of having this fabric? I mean, there's no point of this underneath it, right? So for the most part, whenever I've done sequin stuff, I've just never kept it. I've just never kept it, okay? Because there's just so much more that you can do. There's even things you can do, like what I just did right now. I picked this floral pattern, right? If you don't want to paint, say you're like, oh man, I just don't really know if I'm feeling comfortable painting sequins on right now? Well, there's a couple pattern textures here. I mean, this one's really fun. You can make it that size, and then if you copy this pattern, right, as a brush, let's make this pattern a brush. And how you do that is you click on the three dots and you say copy as brush, right? And then you can go into this pattern now and hit transform. And then you can even move this around a bit. I know that looks kind of funky, but now you could put this as dark. You can even put it underneath it, right? Look at, now we're creating some more of these dark, because remember we have a couple values. We have a dark, mid, light value, right? So let's copy that one as a brush, and let's free up this pattern layer now. And let's go down to abstract to dots, and let's transform this into, you know, maybe something like that. And then let's change this color to like a blue. Actually, and then I don't want it to be that tiny, so let's transform it again and let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And then if I was like, well, I really do like how this is turning, but how am I going to have these really bright sequin moments happening here? Well, then maybe what you'll do is you'll go over here to where this white was, and you can lower the opacity of that brush by you just kind of like double click on the brush layer, and then this brush will come over, and you can kind of just lower down how bright that white is, so it's there but it's not like in your face. Because now then what you can do, let me turn this off so you can get an idea of what I was trying to do. Okay, so now let's go back up to the upper part here. Now what you can do is on your brush layer that's way at the top here, I want to double check shadows down. Yeah, okay. Now you can go into your brush layer here, and you can pick a dot, you can pick a square, you can do this sparkle one, you know. And then now you can go in with a couple of your sparkles, and you're going to get more of that contrast there. My personal favorite, though, what I do for most of all my sequin work, is I really love this dot. That's the circle with the empty dot inside, and I like to turn it down to like 2 or 1, and I turn up scatter in spacing, and then I just kind of go over this, and then at one it's like really nice. And sometimes you can just lower scatter and spacing a bit to get more of a dense sort of clump. And then you can come in and create some moments of sequin highlights, see? And that starts to change it. And then I also like to use this as a way, instead of just, you know how I was creating those shadow edges and stuff? Well, you can also create that with a darker little sequin dot. You don't always have to go in with just a very light opacity layer. You can kind of create some of these color contrast moments here. Now if I zoom out, see how it looks darker on the edges a bit. I can also increase the scatter and spacing so that I don't want it to be super dense, but I still do want this, trying to really bring forth this dark color here. And again, you should be doing these all on their own brush layers. You shouldn't be all on, like, if I want to do like a dark blue now to get some further depth, because we don't want black, I should go on a different layer now, a new brush layer, just so that I don't mess up all the other dots that I have. And again, I'm getting more and more contrast. But the nice thing about doing the dots is that there's these gaps in color that allow whatever is underneath to flow through. And so when you're doing sequin work, it's really lovely to have that because you know, you're keeping your contrast, you're keeping your color believability. There's a lot of breathing room that needs to happen with a sequin texture, okay? So this is one way to kind of quick throw down some sequin textures without really having to commit to, full on painting them. Now something interesting here, and I've touched over this in other videos going over pattern stuff and texture stuff, but if you want the bottom to have some of this, not all of the busyness that's happening on the top one here, but something happening on the bottom one. If I was to clone the style, like I want everything, on the bottom here, when you make a pattern into a brush, it won't copy that over. So if you know that you're going to do these pattern layers, here and there, it's important that every time you make a pattern, copy it as a brush, that you're repeating that on all the areas that needs to happen, so that when you do finally clone the style, you're able to, get these other pattern layers that you had created. Because right now, by me just selecting clone this, I'm only picking up the very last pattern I did, which was that turquoise dot, which works honestly for this. But now if I wanted, I'm like, oh, well, I really want that little flower white thing. Well, then I got to go over here, make this turquoise dot, as a brush, and then I need to go back into pattern, find that in floral. Okay, put that on there, adjust it. I had white, like a dark purple. And then I need to hit transform. Make it small, and then also make it not super white, because I want to do that with the highlights. Okay? So that's another way. Okay? So now I've shown you a couple ways to get the sequins. And then the last way isn't really so different from what I was. It's everything that I just have shown you, but like fully painting it, like completely painting, not relying on pattern or anything like that. So let's get all of this out of here, and I'll start it over. Okay. And let's pick a different color, because I want these to all be stuck in your mind as different things. Let's do a red. A red would be lovely. Okay. And again, this shadow, I found another way to get rid of the shadow without it ever totally being a trouble. Because if you don't want to constantly be, turning this down because you switch colors, you can just make it the same color as your bag, base color, but make it just a little bit lighter. I don't know. That seems to work for some reason. Okay. So if I want to have this be sequins and I'm going to paint it myself, for me, my aesthetic and how I like it, and you can figure out your own, is to use this brush. And again, I usually like to go at like a 2, I kind of go between 2 and 1, and I like to have a really high scatter and spacing. And For me, this is like a big celebration of color. So I'll just start throwing down some some colors here. I know some people have been asking, well, like I want to paint both at the same time, the upper and the lower um, at the same time. And what you would do is you would select just all or link the layers. Um, but for me, like I don't like to do that 100% because like there's some weird things that happen with color. Like if you need to edit, if you need to go back and adjust things, like it's actually really complicated, especially if you get so involved in a garment that you have completely like forget which brush layer has what going on, or if you have to edit and make a lot of changes. Like as soon as you select link all layers and then paint on everything, um, you just have to be really careful because you can just really lose control. So for me, it's just easier to just toggle between the two or toggle between whatever layer and just get them done both at the same time. But let's get some more reds in here. And I'm going to switch between kind of like an orange, kind of maybe a little bit of fuchsia, because when you do paint on your own sequins, this is like a really great time to play around with color harmonies and depth in your sequins, because there's all kinds of colors happening. I'm actually going to make a new brush for this one because this one's a bit darker. And always go with the power of 3. Dark, mid, highlight. When you're doing these hand-painted type of textures. If you're like not 100% sure, if nothing's really popping, like when you zoom out and like nothing's really standing out and it's all looking same, you don't have enough color variation. And so you want to be mindful of that, that you're not only just selecting reds, but you're selecting a variety of tones of reds that are bright, that are light, that aren't just all the same value, okay? Because it's just super important to making it be believable, okay? And then again, another mid-tone that I might want to grab is more in this orange, this sort of orange color, because I want some really bright notes that are going to be almost like a bright yellow kind of neon orange to make this pop. But you can see it's starting to come together. Okay, we'll make another brush layer. And then again, the reason why you're making all these different brushes is so that if you make a mistake or a color doesn't work the way you thought it would work, between all of your painting, you're not like having to erase everything that you've done, right? You don't want to have to erase everything. And then another thing I would also caution against, when you do start to add a brighter color, don't just wash it everywhere. You should have some moments in your bag or garment that have sort of special places for certain colors that aren't just like everywhere. Okay. I'm gonna go back to this bottom layer, and I'm going to switch down to a size 1. And I'm going to lower my scatter and spacing, because what I'm sort of missing right now is some of those darker tones that are my edges. Oh, that's too dark. I can already tell. Oops. Let's go into like this berry kind of, yeah, that's better. So I kind of want to enhance my edges. I want to create some shadow. Okay, let's go look. Yeah, I could go a little bit darker. I mean, this feels horrible, but sometimes you need that. Oh, see, so it looks really bad up front, but look at it. You can see, like, compare this side to this side. That little extra dark right here. So again, like, this feels kind of scary, right? But don't be too stressed. This is why we want to just check it out. Because that's what I needed. This is what I needed to create that contrast. Okay? So sometimes it's okay. All right, perfect. Now, when you're doing these bags or garments or anything and you start like, I mean, look how many colors I've already used. I still need like 4 more colors. Don't forget, and I went over this, I can't remember one of the other videos that I made a long time ago, but I don't want to lose these colors because they're all in here and I might need them. What you can do after you've gotten a little bit established, or even before you start your bag, if you kind of know some of the colors you want to use, let's create a placement area in this workspace to save all these colors. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up into silhouette, edge, detail, shadows. I'm going to grab one of these detail squares, and I'm going to turn off fabric and texture opacity, and I'm going to turn off shadow and glare, and I'm just going to take the brush and I'm going to go quickly over here to just this square. I want to make it like an 8, I guess. I mean, whatever. Oh, I guess I could just keep it as a 12. All right, whatever. Just make it fit in here. Okay. And I'm going to grab all these colors. Just I don't know, however you want to do this, just maybe go row by row, like just keep everything. You don't want to lose what you're doing here. You don't want to lose your colors. I feel like I've already lost well, anyway, you get the idea of what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so now if I move on, excuse me, which I want to do, and I'm already going to commit to these. I'm feeling really good about the placement of these ones. So what I'm going to do, because I need a lot more brushes, and there's a limit of 6. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to click on the 3 dots, and I'm going to select merge, and I'm going to merge a couple of these brushes so that, because I'm happy with where I'm not going to change them. They're permanent. So let's just merge all these brushes. And now I'm going to go make some more. Okay. And what I'm looking to do now is to go into my much brighter colors. So let's go back to this brush. Let's go back to size 2. Let's adjust the scatter and the spacing. Okay. And I want to get a little bit more bright. Again, I'm not going to put it everywhere. If I have dark shadows down here, that means I'm probably going to have brightness happening up at the top of this. And I want you to understand that by putting this yellow in here, I'm not making this a yellow-orange bag. I mean, this still reads red bag. But what I'm doing is I'm just creating these I'm going to pick the color dropper, and I'm just going to go to this orange. I'm creating these dynamic moments so that this is a believable red bag. Red, red sequin bag. Okay. And now I might go into like the white or the really bright kind of yellow. And I'm going to go down to a size 1. And starting at just at the top, I'm going to add my highest highlight color. And then I'll drop a few splotches here. Wow. See, and now it's reading. It's just reading more. And then I'm going to go up to a size 3. I'm just going to add a few, not everywhere, but I'm going to add a few special things because look, I want to just, and I might go in with a red. It's really hard for me to actually tell you what I'm doing. So I'm hoping I hope you're seeing it. And again, this is you might try this and then just discover some really cool ways that you create, how you create this. And I love that. I'm not saying my way is the only way to do this at all, because there's lots of ways to get in here and have fun. Yeah, see, I like these really kind of, again, like I'm straddling between pink and red, and this feels like a really bright, it's almost like when you pick that really bright lipstick that's too bright. But this one, it really works to actually make this, from a distance, you can really see these little bright red moments here. It's working for me. Actually, I love this so much. I'm going to go down to the lower part here. I'm going to sprinkle this in because I really like this bright, kind of obnoxious pinky red. Yeah. Okay. So let's go for the final touch. Again, like for me, the final touch is this bright white. I never do the really bright white until the very end. Because to me, I don't want to overuse it, and I really do just want it to be like the final enhancing touch. Okay. But sometimes you really do have to commit to having these really bright moments to get it to be believable. I don't know. I think I overdid it on this one, which is okay. Yeah, it feels like it needs. And another thing too, like say you mess up on your brushes here. Say this brush and like these brushes were merged and you really love this. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's okay. Go to your color, your base color or wherever the bag color is, and just go over it with your reds or your darker colors. You know what I mean? Like, don't be too scared, okay? There's ways to tone it down without, needing to completely restart from scratch, okay? Yeah, so I'm kind of, correcting as I go. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that this shows how you can, utilize some of the brushes, some of the fabric textures, some of the pattern textures, okay? To get some sequin stuff going. If something's not working, go look at opacity, flow, scatter, spacing, investigate what's not working. Ask yourself, like, wait, this isn't behaving like I wanted it to behave. Then go take a look and see, like, what's missing in the brush that's not giving me, all the things that I wanted. What is it that's going on? And if you're like, oh, I don't want to just stick with these sequins, well, then go up here to your fuzzy brush, turn down opacity, flow, and then you can, again, I didn't want the dark, there we go. And then you can go in and just kind of paint it too, like if you want a really hard, very contrasty, flat fold or whatever. Okay. So yeah, so I'm liking how this is looking now. So what I might do now is that I kind of know, I'm okay. I got all these colors. I don't want this here anymore. You can just go up here and just delete it. It's gone. But what I do want is like maybe a fun gold strap or something. And that's the last thing I want to go over is like how do you put just like a little bit of bling on something, okay? How do you use lines and edges and everything, okay? So let's get into that. What I need is this particular clutch has no strap. So I have to create a strap. I have to somehow create a strap. The only way I'm really going to be able to create a strap is by going into details and making one. So one way you can do that is you can just grab one of these shapes. I like this shape just because it's like kind of the work's done. It already has some curvy lines in it. But anyway, put it down and make sure you're on the upper part, not the lower part, okay? And then we're going to turn on points and lines, and I'm going to start shaping with the points and lines. I'm going to start shaping my strap to behave the way that I want it to. It is going to have some curving, so I got to be mindful that this is going to kind of curve down. Okay. And remember, I can do anything that I want with this. So if I need this to come up here and give an illusion of going behind this bag, I don't need to put a second piece in. I can put this piece in and get it and achieve it. Just with one single piece of a detail. Because you got to think of it like taffy, like an extra piece of fabric, like clay. This is a stretchy material that is going to be behaving the way that you want it to, okay? So the only thing that I need to manage right now is how unrealistic that is hanging. So it's not hanging very good. So I actually kind of need it to be going in this direction. And yes, it's kind of a pain to reorg all these things, but it's worth it. Let's go ahead and delete that until I can get it curved the way I need it to. Let's get this closer, make it a little bit rounder. Again, it's just not, and again, everything that I'm doing right now to get this to be, is the same kind of stuff that you'd be doing. So I'm just showing you that it's not like super easy. but it's achievable, and I will get it. I just need a hot minute to, yeah, to get this in the right place. Yeah, so I need, let's just kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then that's kind of better. So now, okay, so I got the kind of placement. Now I just need to make it look more natural, like it's in a nice little curve. I need to get it to behave the way I need it to. And if it's not totally behaving, just add more points and lines till you get it, shaped the way you need it to. Yeah, just like that. And if you're like, yeah, I like it kind of here, but this from here to here needs to be a little bit more, have a little bit more movement. And like here to here needs to be a little bit more rounded. Okay. So now I've got kind of a strap going that I've created here. Okay. But I want the strap to be blingy, okay? So here's your options now for making this blingy. You can paint on it. I could just go over it like, well, there's a couple ways here. Let's see if I could go to edge. Yeah. So one thing you can do is you could go into the edge option, and what we've found to be the most effective one is this style here, where it's got the light and the dark dots, and then the black background, which we can adjust. But you can put this edge in here. See how it's filling up really nicely. Okay. You can select extend edges, end and start, and then you can kind of adjust the size down, right? Because it's not going to be really big dots. And I can actually just make this more of like a dark red, and then this is where you'd have a bit of white here. And then it's kind of funny, but this shape, again, remember to come in if you're like, oh, that's really dark under here. Like, why is it not bright white? Well, because shadow's on. So turn shadow off. Okay. All right. And I know that looks kind of funny right there, but look at, if you continue to make this edge, make sure edge is selected here, and keep making the size like smaller. And then instead of having it be like bright white like that, you might want to actually have it be like trying to think, like almost like a, yeah, like a, in the kind of pink white layer, stay in the reds, just go to like kind of like a peachy color, and then take your brush, put it on the top, go down here, select this round brush, but go down to like a 3, and then with white, not on every single one, but come in and start adding like a bit of bling. And then you might want to, I know that you're seeing, like, see how there's red here? You might want to actually go in and adjust the strap, like, because if we're trying to make this really kind of small little edge, you might want to make your strap more thin so it kind of fits. Yeah, because we really want, just kind of weirdly shaped this. Anyway, I'm not going to spend a lot of time futzing with this because the video will get too long if I just correct every single thing. But that's one way to kind of create a little bit of like a bling in a strap. You'll have to play with it, but there's that. If you go into, if you put down another invisible detail, let's put down another detail. And when I say invisible detail, what I mean is that we're using this detail as like, we're going in and we're turning off everything, every shadow, glare, outline, fabric color, texture opacity. And we're using this as almost just like a blank canvas layer to put stuff on top of. So you can also go into decor and items and grab one of these, chain things. If you're like, oh, well, I really want, let's see, I kind of like where that is. This needs to stretch up a bit. Say like you just wanted to use this as a strap. I would actually encourage you make it a red to go with the bag. And then say you want to add sparkle, like it's just not shiny enough. What you're going to do is you're going to, you put it down, take your brush layer, go on top on this invisible detail where this item, decor item is, and then now go back into brush. You could grab this dot, you could grab this dot, make it like a 3 or a 2, and then now you can just go in and add a few of these like white dots, although the white is really not great. I would pick like almost like a bright yellow orange. I would actually do multiple layers. I'd go down to like a 2. Oh, 23? No. A 2. I would kind of ramp up to the white. So when the white is on here, it's more special. But now when you zoom out, see how I've added sparkle. I've added just a little bit of sparkle. And again, it's not everywhere. It's sort of, there's broken moments here. But what I've done is I've created some color texture layers so that the white will pop up. And please, I beg you so hard, if you put down a decor item, like on this bag here, take a moment to understand that if something is laying on top of fabric, on top of a texture, there needs to be some sort of shadow underneath it that's saying, hey, I'm a 2D, I'm a 3D object on top of this thing. Go to where this crosses over onto the fabric. It doesn't matter what brush you use, here I could just, none of this matters. Okay, I'm just trying to show you something. Go to the brush layer in this upper part, grab your fuzzy brush, turn down opacity, flow, spacing, whatever. Get it down to sort of matching the size here. And please, I beg you, add a bit of shadow underneath where it sits on top of the object here, because it's going to create so much more, it's going to allow this detail item to pop out, even more. So, be careful how you do it. I think I put it on a bit too much, but just go ahead and just make sure. Oh wait, I undid it all the way to the very back. just make sure that you are being mindful that some things need some support to just feel less like they're just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. That things have dimension, because it's really hard in this tool, especially if you're not really, doing digital art a lot, even if you're not really a painter, even if you're not, you know, if you're just kind of like a hobby creator, which we all are, this just takes it to that next level where you're not just like throwing stuff on and then keeping it in that 2D kind of very flat realm. Like this does sort of make a difference, and it's important. So yeah, you can, use these detail items to create straps. You can then bling out those items. You can go into decor. You can even, create your own, create your own, little chain things like, oh wait, make sure you add. Here I am trying to be showing you something and I'm not even doing it right. But you can also come in, I'm digressing though, because this is about sequins and sparkles and I'm showing you some other stuff. But anyway, you can come in and create your own blinged out, little strappy things. And then again, let's stay true to this topic, right? Let's get all these colored red. That way I won't feel so guilty that I'm going off topic. But say you're doing this, you can also go in now, though, and create some moments of bling on here. Where you see these highlight parts here, and then maybe just even in a little bit of the darker area. So you've created sort of a blingy, your own little blingy strap thing. So I know the power of the white dot is just really powerful when you're making, bags and things sparkle. Okay. So I hope this has helped. Just imagine this same process and apply it to shoes, jackets, blouses, dresses. And it's the same thing, to just take a moment. If you want to use the fabric, enhance it, please don't just put it on and think you're done. Take a moment to create some more color dimensions in these sequin fabrics. Have fun playing around with pattern. I know that this one I showed you guys. Also, anything that's more uniform. So like this one, surprisingly, like these shamrocks, these trees, the lemons, even this one, and even the avocados. If you make the pattern texture small enough, there's some tremendously fun things you can play around with. If you don't want to spend all the time painting this. Of course, in abstract, there's also some fun things with all the dots, the paw pattern when it gets really tiny. I mean, just think of these not as the shapes they are, but, just play around. And then if you want to, be serious about painting it, alternate between this brush, maybe this circle brush. This one is okay. This one's also really good if you want to create your own strap. Again, if you want to create your own blingy strap, you can also, maybe you start with, red, and then maybe if you you make these a few brighter ones. And then maybe a bit brighter. So again, you're sort of creating that. And then you could drop down to like a size 3, get your white, and then, you know, add your white contrast, and then, you know, you'll have to play around. Maybe this pink isn't the right color, honestly. I don't know why forgive me for wasting time going over this. A bit too bright, but you see what I mean. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can get in here and have fun. So, yeah. Okay, I hope this helps. I hope it's not terrible. I wish you luck and fun creating with sequins, and I really look forward to seeing what's in the shop. All right, take care.